No one noticed the moment humanity became dangerous. That was the mistake. In the first 10 seconds of the emergency broadcast, the galactic net filled with laughter. It spread from council halls to merchant ships, from military academies to pirate dens. The humans had spoken again. Soft voices. Calm words. Warnings delivered without threats. The kind of warning no one respected. And that was exactly how humanity wanted it. Ambassador Ren Halvorsen stood alone beneath the vast dome of the Stellar Accord Assembly. The ceiling curved high above him, alive with drifting star maps and glowing symbols that represented entire civilizations. Around him sat beings who measured history in millennia. Warriors born with armor. Minds grown for conquest. Empires that had never truly lost a war. Ren was just a man in a plain dark suit. He didn't fidget. He didn't raise his voice. He simply waited. The Car Dominion delegation occupied the center tier. Massive insectoid forms wrapped in ceremonial battle plating. Their leader, Overlord Sectarville, clicked his mandibles slowly, enjoying the tension. His species had conquered 14 star nations in the last 5 centuries. They believed in momentum. In crushing resistance before it could form. The humans request recognition of neutral sovereignty in the Kestrel Expanse, Sectarville announced to the chamber. A region currently under Dominion expansion. A ripple of amusement passed through the assembly. The Kestrel Expanse was resource-rich, strategically vital, and weakly defended. 3 human settlements existed there. Agricultural worlds. Research outposts. Civilians. Easy prey. Ren stepped forward when the Arbiter's light turned toward him. His voice was calm, almost gentle. Humanity requests only what was agreed upon by this council. Neutral space. No fleets. No occupation. Sectarville's eyes glittered. You request protection you cannot enforce. Ren nodded once. We request peace. That was when the laughter grew louder. The Overlord rose, towering above the human. Your kind is quiet. Patient. Slow to anger. These traits make you pleasant neighbors. They do not make you powerful. Ren met his gaze. We disagree. More laughter. Your fleets number fewer than 60, Sectarville continued. Your weapons are outdated by Dominion standards. You expand slowly. You speak softly. You hide behind words. Ren said nothing. The Arbiter waited, then spoke. Does humanity offer resistance? Ren lifted his eyes. We offer warning. That was the moment humanity sealed the fate of the Car Dominion. The Council dismissed the human statement within minutes. Votes were cast. The Kestrel Expanse was marked for stabilization. Dominion fleets would arrive within 3 months. No sanctions. No objections. No one feared the quiet species. Ren returned to his ship without ceremony. The solace of dawn slipped from the station like a whisper. No escort. No visible weapons. Just another unremarkable human vessel drifting into the dark. Inside, Ren removed his diplomatic badge and placed it on the table. Transmission complete, the ship's AI said. All nodes received. Good, Ren replied. Across human space, something ancient stirred. Deep beneath Earth's oceans, vaults that had not opened in decades came alive. On moons with no names, engines long dormant began to hum. In places the galaxy did not know existed, humanity's true strength unfolded silently. They did not mobilize with parades. They did not broadcast threats. They simply prepared. 3 months later, the first Dominion Armada entered the Kestrel Expanse. 400 warships. Carriers bristling with fighters. Siege vessels designed to crack planets open like eggs. Commanders eager to make an example. They expected resistance. They did not expect absence. Human colonies powered down external defenses. No challenge signals. No panic. Traffic continued as normal. Farmers worked fields. Children went to school. Research stations kept transmitting weather data. The Dominion commanders were confused. Then amused. Begin occupation protocols, Fleet Marshal Kethrix ordered. That was when space changed. Not with explosions. With silence. Every Dominion sensor went blind at the same moment. Not jammed. Not destroyed. Simply overwhelmed. Space around the fleet folded in impossible ways, stretching distances and collapsing vectors. Navigation systems screamed errors that made no sense. Then the first ship vanished. No explosion. No debris. 1 second it existed. The next, it did not. Panic spread. Enemy weapons detected. Kethrix demanded. No energy signatures, his officers replied. No visible attackers. Then a human voice spoke across every channel. Calm. Clear. Close. This is the Terran Defense Network, it said. You were warned. Space itself seemed to turn against the Armada. Ships were pulled apart by forces that ignored armor. Fleets were separated into isolated pockets where physics behaved differently for each group. Precision strikes disabled command vessels without damaging surrounding hulls. Fighters found themselves trapped in loops of warped space they could never escape. The Dominion fired blindly. Nothing hit. They never saw the humans. They only felt the consequences. From beyond visual range, from dimensions the Dominion had never studied, humanity acted with terrifying restraint. No rage. No speeches. Just efficiency. Within 12 minutes, the Armada ceased to exist. Not destroyed. Removed. Across the galaxy, sensors registered the impossible. 400 warships gone without a battle. Without wreckage. Without survivors. And only then did the galaxy remember the quiet humans. Back on Earth, Ren Halvorsen stood in a simple control room as reports streamed in. He did not smile. Message to the Council, he said. Send the recording. What should it say? An officer asked. Ren thought for a moment. Then he replied, tell them humanity remains open to peace. The stars burned on. And every empire that had laughed began to fear the silence. The galaxy did not believe the reports at first. Empires had fallen before, but never like this. Never quietly. Never without wreckage, without screams across open channels, without the long, ugly aftermath of debris fields and refugees. The disappearance of the Car Dominion's Fourth Armada felt wrong to every strategist who studied it. 400 warships did not simply vanish. But they had. Across trade hubs and military academies, analysts replayed the sensor data again and again. The same result every time. One moment the fleet was there. The next, empty space. No exotic radiation. No detectable weapons fire. Just absence. Fear crept in where logic failed. Overlord Sectarville did not laugh this time. He stood within the Black Spire, the heart of Dominion Command, surrounded by advisors who suddenly avoided eye contact. The vast holographic display before him showed the Kestrel expanse marked in warning crimson. Repeat, he demanded. The intelligence drone complied. Confirmed loss of Fourth Armada. No survivors. No debris. No hostile signatures identified. Sectarville's mandibles tightened. His kind did not panic easily, but something cold stirred in his core. The humans, he said slowly. Yes, Overlord. They claimed responsibility. Yes. With what forces? The drone hesitated. Unknown. That answer echoed through the chamber. Unknown. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion faced an enemy it could not measure. Meanwhile, humanity remained silent. No victory broadcasts. No threats. No demands. Human space traffic continued as normal. Trade ships followed old routes. Diplomatic envoys kept appointments. The calm was unsettling. In the ruins of the Kestrel expanse, Dominion scouts refused to return. Some ships reported distorted time readings. Others sent fragmented messages describing stars in the wrong places. One cruiser returned weeks later, its crew aged decades, screaming about darkness that moved like thought. The Dominion sealed the reports. Other species did not. Fear spread faster than any fleet. In neutral space, old enemies paused their wars. Pirate clans abandoned hunting grounds near human borders. Smaller empires quietly rerouted trade lanes. Everyone watched the quiet species. On Earth, Admiral Lena Ortiz studied the galaxy-wide response from a command center buried deep beneath the Andes. She had commanded fleets, survived wars, and buried friends. She did not enjoy what she was seeing. "They're scared," her aide said. "That's good, right?" Lena shook her head. "Scared enemies make mistakes. And desperate ones make monsters." Humanity had never planned conquest. The Prometheus network was built for survival. For deterrence. For the worst-case scenario where the galaxy decided Earth was expendable. That scenario was unfolding faster than predicted. Status of the outer nodes. Lena asked. Stable. No breaches. All systems within tolerance. Any response from the Council? None officially. But internal traffic suggests emergency sessions. Lena sighed. They laughed until it hurt. Now they don't know how to speak to us. Far from Earth, on the Dominion frontier world of Cartel Prime, something unprecedented occurred. A human ship arrived unannounced. It was small. Unarmed by visible standards. It did not carry fighters or escorts. It simply emerged at the edge of the system and waited. Dominion defenses locked on instantly. Human vessel, the planetary governor hissed. Destroy it. The targeting systems failed. Not malfunctioned. Failed. Every weapon platform lost lock at the same time. Missiles refused to arm. Energy cannons powered down as if embarrassed by the attempt. Then the human ship transmitted. "This is Captain Myra Solano of the Terran diplomatic vessel Stillness," the calm voice said. "We are here to talk." The governor stared at the display, fury and fear twisting together. "You destroyed an armada." "We neutralized a threat," Myra replied. "There is a difference. You dare approach our core world?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because misunderstanding leads to extinction. We would prefer neither of us experience that." Silence followed. No one in the chamber remembered the last time a human ship had spoken to the Dominion from a position of strength. "You think this makes you powerful," the governor finally said. "One trick does not win a war." Myra's voice did not change. "We agree. Which is why we are not at war." She let the words settle. "Withdraw from human-recognized neutral space," she continued. "Cease expansion into the Kestrel expanse. Respect Council agreements." "And if we refuse?" There was a pause. Then Myra answered softly. "Then the lesson will continue." The channel closed. The human ship vanished. Not jumped. Not warped. Vanished. Across the Dominion, alarms rang. Sensors detected massive energy shifts across multiple sectors. Human signals appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Fleets repositioned defensively, abandoning expansion plans centuries in the making. The Overlord convened his war council. "We underestimated them," one general admitted. "Their technology is beyond ours." "They hide their strength," another said. "We cannot fight what we cannot see." Sectarville listened, his mind racing. "The humans are not conquerors," he said at last. "They do not strike for territory. They strike for deterrence." "And that makes them dangerous," the general replied. "Yes," the Overlord agreed. "Because it means they are disciplined." The galaxy watched as the Car Dominion did the unthinkable. They halted. Expansion fleets were recalled. Occupations paused. Borders stabilized. A formal message was sent to the Galactic Council. The Dominion would honor neutral zones. The council chambers filled with stunned whispers. Humanity said nothing. On frontier worlds, colonists looked up at the stars, unaware of how close extinction had come. Children played. Scientists argued over data. Life continued. But something fundamental had changed. For the first time, the galaxy understood that silence could be a weapon. and that the quiet humans were not weak. They were patient. And patience, it turned out, was far more terrifying than rage. The galaxy did not calm down after the Dominion halted. It fractured. Some empires saw restraint as wisdom. Others saw weakness. History had taught them that every great power eventually overreached, and many believed humanity's quiet strength was a bluff stretched too far. They were wrong. But mistakes always come before understanding. In the Southern Spiral, the Ralkeen Coalition met in secret. They were a loose alliance of 5 species, none strong enough to dominate alone, all afraid of becoming the next example. Their leaders gathered around a living star map that pulsed softly with each system under discussion. The humans erased a fleet without a battle, one delegate said. That power cannot be allowed to stand unchallenged. They did not erase it, another replied nervously. They removed it. That is worse. Fear drove their logic. Fear and pride. If humanity truly controls forces beyond our detection, the Ralkeen Warspeaker said, then every empire is already at their mercy. Today it is deterrence. Tomorrow it is rule. So we strike first, a smaller voice asked. The Warspeaker's mandibles flexed. We test them. The plan was simple. Brutally simple. A civilian convoy would be intercepted near the edge of human-influenced space. No military engagement. No declarations. Just pressure. Just blood. If humanity responded with overwhelming force, the coalition would unite the galaxy against them as a threat to all. If they did not respond, then the myth would break. The attack came without warning. 3 unmarked warships dropped out of folded space beside the convoy. Civilian hulls. Medical transports. Families aboard. The Ralkeen ships disabled engines, cut communications, and boarded. Screams never reached human ears. Minutes later, the raiders transmitted a single message across open channels. This is a warning. Humanity does not control the stars. The galaxy held its breath. On Earth, Admiral Lena Ortiz watched the feed in silence. The room around her was filled with officers, analysts, and diplomats. No one spoke. How many lost? Someone finally asked. 412 civilians, Lena replied. Her voice was steady, but her hands were clenched. Response options, another officer said carefully. Lena closed her eyes for a moment. Prometheus had been designed to prevent extinction, not avenge tragedy. But humanity had learned a painful lesson long before reaching the stars. Silence without consequence invites predators. Activate Protocol Aegis, she said. Several people looked up sharply. That's a reveal threshold, her aide said. Partial exposure. Yes, Lena replied. They crossed the line that matters. Across human space, hidden arrays shifted their posture. Not all of them. Just enough. The response did not come as an explosion. It came as understanding. Every Ralkeen military network received the same data packet at the same moment. Star charts corrected with terrifying precision. Fleet locations updated in real time. Secure channels unlocked as if they had never been encrypted. Then a message followed. This is humanity, the calm voice said. We see you. The coalition panicked. Fleets scrambled. Defenses powered up. Emergency councils convened. Too late. Human ships began to appear. Not emerging from hyperspace. Not entering through known dimensions. They unfolded. Space bent gently, like fabric being smoothed by careful hands, and vessels of unfamiliar geometry slid into existence. Their hulls were dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. No markings. No visible weapons. They did not fire. They moved. Human vessels positioned themselves beside Ralkeen fleets, close enough that commanders could see them with the naked eye. Close enough to understand the imbalance. Weapons systems refused to lock. Engines refused to respond. The humans spoke again. You harmed civilians, the voice said. That is not politics. That is not strategy. That is a choice. One by one, Ralkeen ships lost power. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Simply, asleep. Across 5 systems, entire fleets drifted helplessly. Then humanity did something no one expected. They left. No demands. No occupation. No conquest. The disabled ships reactivated hours later. Crews shaken but alive. Systems intact. The message was unmistakable. We could have ended you. We chose not to. The galaxy reeled. For the first time, fear was tempered by something else. Respect. On neutral worlds, philosophers debated the meaning of restraint. Military academies rewrote doctrines. Children of older species began asking new questions about power and responsibility. Humanity had not claimed dominance. They had demonstrated control. At the Galactic Council, emergency session followed emergency session. The Arbiter struggled to maintain order as delegates argued, pleaded, and demanded explanations. At last, a single request was sent. Humanity was asked to speak. Ambassador Ren Halvorsen returned to the council chamber months after he had been laughed at. The room was full this time. Silent. Every eye followed him as he stepped forward. He did not look triumphant. He looked tired. We never wanted this, Ren said. We did not come to the stars to rule them. Then why build such power? A delegate demanded. Ren paused. Because history taught us a hard truth, he said. That the universe is not kind to the unprepared. He looked around the chamber. We stayed quiet because noise invites fear. We stayed small because size invites challenge. We stayed patient because patience lets you see who people really are. The chamber remained still. You mocked our silence, Ren continued. You mistook it for weakness. But silence is how we survived our own past. He straightened. We are not conquerors. We are not guardians. We are neighbors. And if we threaten you? Someone asked. Ren's eyes hardened, just slightly. Then the silence will answer. The council adjourned without resolution. But something irreversible had occurred. Humanity was no longer an unknown variable. They were a constant. And constants change everything. Far from politics and power, on a small human colony at the edge of map space, a child looked up at the stars and asked her teacher if humans were heroes now. The teacher thought for a long moment before answering. No, she said softly. We're just people who learned when to speak, and when not to. The stars remained quiet. But now, everyone was listening. Humanity had crossed the point of no return. It did not happen with a battle or a declaration. It happened quietly, the way all permanent changes did. The moment the galaxy accepted that humans were no longer a mystery, they became a factor. And factors attract pressure. In the months following the Ralkeen incident, something new appeared in galactic space. Attention. Every probe, every merchant ship, every diplomatic courier passing near human territory lingered a little longer. Sensors pushed harder. Algorithms searched for patterns. Old enemies watched with envy, and old allies watched with fear. Humanity had revealed just enough to survive. But survival invited scrutiny. On Earth, Admiral Lena Ortiz stood before a room of grim faces. The Prometheus network had worked exactly as designed, but success had created a problem no model had predicted. We are being studied, she said. Aggressively. How close are they getting? A civilian advisor asked. Too close, Lena replied. They don't understand what they're seeing, but they know we're hiding more. That was dangerous. Prometheus relied on secrecy, misdirection, and incomplete revelation. If the galaxy ever truly understood how humanity bent space, how their systems bypassed known physics, then countermeasures would follow. Maybe not today. Maybe not in a century. But eventually. And eventually was unacceptable. Then the alarm sounded. Not external. Internal. Unknown intrusion detected, the AI announced. Source, unclassified. That should not have been possible. Human networks were isolated, layered, and paranoid by design. No alien system had ever breached them. Not even close. Location. Lena demanded. Multiple nodes, the AI replied. Pattern suggests distributed intelligence. The room went silent. This was not a fleet. This was something else. Across human space, people felt it before they understood it. Navigation errors that corrected themselves. Messages delayed by seconds. Systems behaving strangely, as if something unseen was touching them gently, curiously. Watching. On the far edge of the galaxy, an ancient intelligence stirred. The Veiled Accord had existed before most stars were named. They were not an empire. They did not conquer. They observed. When civilizations reached a certain threshold, when they began to break the rules of reality rather than merely use them, the Veiled Accord noticed. Humanity had crossed that threshold. A presence appeared in human-controlled space without folding, warping, or violating any known detection rule. It simply arrived. A structure the size of a small moon hovered beyond the orbit of Pluto. Smooth. Colorless. Featureless. It did not emit energy. It did not move. It waited. Humanity did not panic. They mobilized. Prometheus nodes adjusted. Defensive layers activated. Human ships unfolded into position, surrounding the object at a respectful distance. Then the structure spoke. Not in words. In meaning. Every human who perceived the signal felt the same thing. Not fear. Not threat. Curiosity. You are early, the presence conveyed. And you are loud. Admiral Lena Ortiz stood in the primary interface chamber as linguists and cognitive specialists worked frantically. We are humanity, Lena said aloud, though she knew the words were only for her people. State your intent. The presence responded instantly. We observe civilizations that alter the structure of existence. Most destroy themselves. Some destroy others. A few learn restraint. Images filled the room. Civilizations burning. Stars collapsing unnaturally. Entire regions of space erased to stop uncontrolled growth. You have built tools capable of harm beyond your understanding, the presence continued. Why? Lena did not answer immediately. She thought of the Dominion Armada. Of the murdered civilians. Of Earth's long history of war and survival. Because we are afraid, she said finally. And because fear taught us to prepare. The presence paused. Preparation often leads to domination. We chose restraint, Lena replied. Every time. The silence stretched. Then the presence changed. You will be tested, it said. The structure vanished. Not destroyed. Not departed. Removed. Across human space, Prometheus screamed. Space twisted violently around key nodes. Entire defensive layers failed simultaneously. Human ships lost access to higher dimensional systems. For the first time since its creation, Prometheus was blind. This isn't an attack, an analyst said in shock. It's a simulation. No, Lena replied grimly. It's a lesson. The Veiled Accord was showing humanity something terrifying. A future where secrecy was impossible. Where power alone was not enough. Where every civilization that reached humanity's level faced the same choice. Escalate. Or evolve. When the system stabilized hours later, Prometheus came back online. Changed. Some capabilities were gone. Others were limited. Safety constraints had been enforced. Humanity was no longer the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. But they were no longer alone either. The message left behind was clear. Power without wisdom invites correction. Across the galaxy, sensors registered the brief disturbance. Rumors spread faster than facts. Something had challenged the humans. Something had survived. The laughter did not return. Neither did the mocking. Instead, the galaxy felt something new. Hope. Because if humanity could choose restraint even when confronted by something older, stronger, and watching, then maybe the stars did not belong only to tyrants and monsters. On Earth, Lena Ortiz looked out at the sky and felt the weight of the future settle on her shoulders. Prometheus had saved humanity. Now humanity would have to save itself from becoming what it feared. The silence returned. But it was different now. It was no longer the silence of being ignored. It was the silence of being measured. The galaxy waited. Not in peace. Not in comfort. But in a shared, uneasy pause that stretched across light years and centuries of habit. Empires that once expanded without thought now hesitated. Fleets remained docked. Weapons stayed powered down just a little longer than necessary. Because humanity had changed the rules. And the Veiled Accord had made sure everyone knew it. Months passed after the encounter beyond Pluto. No announcements were made. No warnings issued. Humanity did not explain what had been taken from them, or what limits had been placed. They simply adapted, the way they always had. Quietly. Prometheus was no longer an invisible shield that could erase fleets at will. Some pathways were closed forever. Some technologies locked behind constraints humanity could not bypass without consequences. It was humbling. But it was also clarifying. Admiral Lena Ortiz stood before the Global Assembly on Earth, addressing leaders who finally understood the weight of what humanity carried. "We are no longer alone in the dark," she said. "And that means our choices matter more than ever." Some wanted retaliation. Others wanted isolation. A few whispered about rebuilding Prometheus stronger, hidden deeper. Lena rejected all of it. "We survived because we prepared," she continued. "We earned trust because we showed restraint. Now we move forward because we choose responsibility." That decision rippled outward. Human diplomats returned to the Galactic Council, not as quiet observers, but as steady voices. Not demanding. Not threatening. Offering frameworks. Safeguards. Agreements that limited expansion, restricted weapons that tore at reality, and protected civilian space. To everyone's surprise, many empires agreed. Not because they feared humanity, but because they feared what came after unchecked power. The Car Dominion was the first to sign. Overlord Sectarville, older now and visibly diminished, addressed his people and the council alike. "We believed strength was measured in conquest," he said. "We were wrong. Strength is knowing when to stop." The words echoed across the stars. Other species followed. Slowly at first. Then faster. Treaties formed. Neutral zones expanded. Observation councils were created, not dominated by any single power. The Veiled Accord did not return. But their presence lingered in every decision. Humanity did not become rulers of the galaxy. They became something far more dangerous to tyranny. An example. On distant worlds, children of alien species studied human history. They learned about a small blue planet where conflict had nearly destroyed its people more than once. Where survival came not from being the strongest, but from learning, adapting, and enduring. They learned that humans were not fearless. They were careful. Years later, on the edge of explored space, a crisis emerged. A collapsing star threatened to consume nearby systems. No empire alone could stop it. Old rivalries nearly reignited as evacuation routes clashed. Humanity did not send warships. They sent engineers. They shared stabilizing technology adapted from Prometheus, modified to obey the new limits. They coordinated fleets from a dozen species. They stood in the background while others took credit. The star stabilized. Billions lived. No monuments were built. That was fine. Ambassador Ren Halvorsen, now older and moving slower, watched the operation from a quiet observation deck. A young aide stood beside him. "They never thank us properly," the aide said. Ren smiled faintly. "That's how you know you did it right." The galaxy no longer mocked the silent humans. They no longer underestimated them either. Instead, when humanity spoke, others listened. And when humanity was silent, others paid even closer attention. Because they understood now. Silence was not emptiness. It was choice. Far beyond known space, the Veiled Accord observed the slow transformation of the galactic order. Where once they had seen endless cycles of domination and collapse, they now saw something unfamiliar. Stability. Not perfect. Not permanent. but growing. One species altered the trajectory, an ancient presence noted. Unintentionally, another replied. Perhaps, the first agreed. But intent matters less than outcome. Humanity had passed the test. Not by winning a war, but by refusing to become one. On Earth, beneath a quiet night sky, a child asked her parent why humans didn't rule the galaxy if they could. The parent thought for a moment before answering. Because ruling means deciding for everyone else, they said. And we learned a long time ago how dangerous that is. The child nodded, satisfied, and went back to watching the stars. The stars watched back. They had seen conquerors. They had seen destroyers. They had seen gods rise and fall. Now they had seen something rarer. A species that knew its power, and chose wisdom instead. And that, more than any armada, changed everything.